Good evening, a warm welcome to State of Business RTV's Primetime News Bulletin. You're with me, Rukshi Panditaratna. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Rajagiriya flyover declared open by President and Prime Minister. Sri Lanka's largest multifunctional irrigation project vested to the public. And today on Top Stories, the Rajagiriya flyover, the longest flyover in Sri Lanka, was vested to the public today by President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. President Sirisena said that a request was made by the public to name the flyover in the name of late Venerable Maduluave Sobhita Thera. Construction work of the flyover was concluded 11 months ahead of schedule as advised by President Sirisena. The flyover, built using modern technology and high-quality engineering, comprises of 4 lanes and is 533 meters in length with a 180-meter access road. The flyover was constructed in collaboration with a Spanish company and a local company in the year 2016, and the total cost spent on the construction was 4,700 million rupees. In parallel to this project, several roads around the Rajagiri area will be developed, and an alternative road towards Narayanpeta will be developed, as well as the road towards Budgamo will be developed with a total of 3 lanes. The Murugahakanda Kaluganga Multi-Purpose Development Scheme was declared open by President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today to mark the handing over of the ownership of the project, which was built by the Chinese chargé d'affaires of the Chinese embassy. Pang Xunshui handed over the ownership deed to President Sirisena in the presence of a large number of distinguished and diplomatic invitees. Murugahakanda Kaluganga project was undertaken at a cost of $450 million, funded by China in 2007. As the largest multi-purpose irrigation water reservoir in Sri Lanka, the Murugahakanda reservoir's water is irrigating lands in faraway Vanni in the northern province on one side and Rajarata, Vayamba, central and eastern provinces on the other. In addition to irrigating land, water from the Murugahakanda reservoir will be used to power the 25-megawatt Murugahakanda hydroelectric power station. According to the latest data released by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka has reached an unsurpassed high of 2.1 million in 2017. The arrival figure for 2017 represents a 3.2 growth, or 65,595 more arrivals than the preceding year, when the figure crossed the 2 million mark for the first time.
The higher number of arrivals has been achieved despite serious obstacles to the tourism industry right throughout 2017. The first setback was the partial closure of the country's main airport from January to April, where many airlines either scaled down operations or completely halted flights to Colombo. However, just weeks after the airport reopened in April, the southern half of the country experienced devastating floods that cut off access to many resort areas, resulting in adverse international media publicity that had an impact on forward bookings. This was followed by an unprecedented dengue epidemic in the commercial capital Colombo and its surrounding areas that lasted several months. Further flooding and a severe drought in the central and northern parts of the country in the latter part of the year added to the climactic woes suffered by the tourism industry during the year, which, according to industry sources, impacted forward bookings further. According to Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority data, arrivals in December grew from 224,791 in 2016 to 244,536 in 2017, reflecting a growth rate of 8.8%.
See you after this break. Welcome back. The Consumer Affairs Authority of the Ministry of Commerce, in collaboration with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, inaugurated a 5-day workshop on regulatory impact analysis in Colombo this morning. United Nations Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative Una Macaulay was the chief guest at the inauguration ceremony.
The workshop aims to raise awareness and share international experiences on the role of regulatory quality for economic and social development. It will facilitate a more transparent, participative and evidence-based regulatory process that would improve regulations of Sri Lankan consumers and producers. The 5-day training comprises of a 1-day seminar for regulatory authorities, followed by a 4-day intensive training program to inculcate the importance of carefully assessing regulatory interventions.
There has to be coherent regulation if Sri Lanka is to achieve sustainable development. So regulation is not just important for your work, for the areas that you work in, but for the broader development of the country. But if those regulations aren't sufficient, they lose their importance and they can bring unintended problems, and they can mean that the intended benefits are not realized. Compliance isn't easy. I don't think that you're here to get some very simple solutions and go away and implement those solutions. Compliance, it really isn't easy. But it can be made easier if regulations are designed in such a way that they assess impact. Here in Sri Lanka, with UNIDO, the Food and Agricultural Organization and the World Health Organization, we're aiming to foster a food safety policy and a food safety strategy where all procedures and the coordination of food safety systems come under one national food authority. Integrated food standards to be used by the industry, service providers, inspectors, and local authorities who control food safety. Ultimately, while that sounds extremely complicated to me, and I'm a lay person in this, that makes the process less complex and effective in achieving the objective of having food safety and better standards for production and export, and I hope leads to the reduction in malnutrition, overnutrition, and hunger in Sri Lanka.
Delivering the speech of Minister Irshad Badiuddin, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, M.A. Tajuddin, stated that the existing Consumer Affairs Authority Act should be revised as it is unsatisfactory to face challenges in modern consumer trends and dynamics.
This is the first time that the Ministry of Industry and Commerce and the Consumer Affairs Authority and even Sri Lanka itself is undertaking such an in-depth review of safeguard of consumption of products, services and complaints at national level, which is the stepping stone for harmonization with the dynamic global standard respected by 100 countries. In fact, it is estimated that 100 countries have already used the UN guideline on consumer protection for the design of their national consumer safeguard policies. This effort is of such national importance that we have facilitated the participation of 30 Sri Lankan regulatory bodies in these deliberations to sit together, and such a high level of participation by national regulatory agencies at the same time is an institutional record of its own for the first time. The strength of our consumer protection framework at present is largely dependent on regulation such as our Consumer Affairs Authority Act, which need revising. Ladies and gentlemen, while this act introduced the much needed basic consumer safeguard framework of Sri Lanka, they do not appear to be satisfactory anymore in the face of huge changes and complexity in modern consumer trends and dynamics. These include online purchases, new cross-border consumption practices, including the consumption of the content such as data, and new consumer activism that looks for remedies on latest merchandise that was previously unheard of, unknown, such as streaming or stored online digital content. For an example, the 70% of the purchase of the developed countries today are made online. Rapidly growing Asia countries too are moving fast in the same direction.
Let's take a look at stocks after this break. Welcome back. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The oil share price index gained 25.78 points to close at 6,540.51, and the S&P SL 20 gained 26.12 points to close at 3,810.05. The turnover was 1.7 billion rupees and 112.1 million shares were traded. Let's take a look at today's forex rates. Thank you for watching State of Business. See you tomorrow at the same time. Till then, take care. Good night.